Welcome to 6 of 1 and Bill of the Other, where today we are going to be talking about the Beetlejuice trailer. Click here for the review. But first, this is what you really want, isn't it? This is what you really want. It's Bill with just the facts.
Hit the music, Paul. Gross tonnage is not the weight of a ship. Instead, it is calculated from a ship's internal volume using logarithmic function. I personally only judge ships based on their personality. About Plastivore.
Sorry.
It's all right.
It's 2024. That's the way we have
yes,
to
I'm
judge ships.
very open-minded.
A ship of camels. I'll look them straight in the eye and say, good boy. Come on.
Plastivores. Bacteria, fungi, and even some insects that can break down and depolymerize all kinds of plastics. Once thought to be rare in nature, plastivorous activity is being increasingly found in a wide variety of places, including seawater and the Amazon. I buy pills that help me go to the bathroom more regularly on the Amazon. Okay. All right. Okay. We're doing good. All right. At almost 90 years old, musician A&M Records co-founder Herb Alpert still performs live. Hey, babe, let's get the kids a sitter so we can see this guy. All right. Okay. All right, we're doing all right. We're doing good.
This is the highlight of 2024 for me so far. This is good. Go.
This one might be a letdown.
No.
Hypochondria simply means regions of the abdomen, once thought to be the source of morbid feelings, which is ironic because of my fear that whenever my doctor looks at my abdomen, he will refer to it as morbid obesity.
That one rattled my bones.
This next fact is jaw-dropping. Ratathum was a medicine sold in the 1920s that consisted of water with a bit of dissolved radium. One user, Eben Byers, drank so much of it that most of his jaw literally fell off. See, I delivered on my promise there. I said that it was going to be... Okay, gets better from here. Ready? Are you ready?
Yes.
This next one is for the kids. Any kids watching are going to enjoy this next fact. Michael Taylor was a British man who murdered his wife by tearing out her eyes and tongue with his bare hands after an all-night exorcism that supposedly left 3 demons remaining within him. These demons were named insanity, murder, and violence. I hate to admit this, Six, but I am also possessed with a demon. My demon's name is laugh while you rip loud farts in crowded public elevators.
Americans.
Okay, so Larry Bird, for this next fact, is a basketball player who played with the Boston Celtics, and the LA Lakers are another basketball team that plays in Los Angeles. So now that you're up to speed, the fun fact can commence. Larry Bird once played a game mostly with his left hand, because he wanted to save his right hand for the next game against the Lakers. For similar reasons, I eat with my left hand the night before my wife makes hamburger helper. No, what's funny is I wrote hamburger helper because I was super excited because my wife was like, what's something I can get at the store that we haven't eaten in a long time? And I was like, oh my God, hamburger helper, because we used to have it in the 90s. And we loved it, like hamburger helper, cheeseburger macaroni is delicious. So apparently they were bought out by Eagle Family Foods, and Eagle Family Foods apparently made the business decision that it would be better if they made it taste like dog food. Because I was all excited all day at work and I got home and I ate it and it tasted like trash. So we're literally getting the homemade recipe now.
Okay, here's one for you,
yeah.
right? So you said it. I thought it sounded funny, like it was the rhythm, the words you were saying, the general vibe of it. It was so. The way you strung it all together, I laughed because it was just funny. You're just the funniest man I've ever met. What's a hamburger helper?
Oh, hamburger helper is macaroni.
I thought you were going to go down. So I used my left hand to eat then, and then the next day, I knew my I'll beep all of that. What is a hamburger helper? Because when you said hamburger helper, I was picturing a hamburger, and you helping it, and that was just as bad.
I think the corporate thing for hamburger helper is a gloved, like, animatronic hand waving. But anyway,
what is a hamburger helper?
Is macaroni and ground meat with like macaroni and cheese in it. And it was very good in the 90s. The new company turned it into awful dog food. And now you can get your own recipe. We're going to try that and hopefully it'll be delicious.
What's the helping part then?
Because you want a second helping is my guess.
Oh!
It's a helper? I don't know. I don't know English, so I don't know. I guess
you're American,
means
exactly.
You're gonna. Oh, here we go. Here we go with the elitism. Okay, speaking of wordplay, our next fact, it says that infants under 1 year should not be fed honey, which shouldn't be confused with the phrase infants under 1 year shouldn't be fed honey.
So, it's all about that comma, isn't it?
Yeah. So for our last fact of the day is about active listening. Active listening is very important. Active listening is listening with the intent to understand the other person fully rather than listening to respond. However, it was criticized by John Gottman's The 7 Principles of Making Marriage Work as being of limited usefulness. His wife actually had a lot to say about his opinion, but unfortunately, Gottman wasn't paying attention. It's both a joke and absolutely 100% true. Both funny and true.
Beetlejuice.
Daylight come and we want to go. Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana. Daylight come and we want to go. Me say day, me say day, me say day, me say day, me say day.
The juice is loose.
Having just watched that trailer, it really did help that I rewatched Beetlejuice last night. And
Me too.
I didn't... This is weird, right? So all my life, people talk about Beetlejuice. I know the character. I know it's Tim Burton. I know bits and pieces about it. I assumed that I had this kind of cozy relationship with this film over the years. Rewatching it, what I realised was I don't remember it at all. I think that I may have watched it once 35 years ago. I got the general gist of it. Watching that trailer, having now watched the film, that trailer makes sense.
Absolutely. And I had watched it a few times, and I remember me and my brother used to love, there was a cartoon in the probably early 90s about Beetlejuice. So we watched that, and we watched the film. I remember the big scene. I remembered them singing Day-O at the table, and I remembered Winona Ryder was in it, and I sort of remembered the couple, Alec Baldwin, who clearly won't be in this one.
I don't know. I didn't even remember the actors. So when it came on and each person came on the screen and each person was like more famous, like, oh my god, it's the mum from Home Alone. Oh my god, is that Alec Baldwin? Oh, everyone, God, whoa! I feel. Shh. Shh, it was Alec Baldwin though.
I forgot how it ended. I remember that obviously Beetlejuice was in it, and then he came out, but I forgot how they sort of stopped him. I forgot that he wanted to get married to Winona Ryder. Which,
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
who doesn't, really?
I have issues, right? So let's tell you what, right? Because we're going to address, I've got the trailer ready to sort of go again and pause it in places and talk about it. But can we just, about the original Beetlejuice, see me as like I feel like we should almost do a tiny, tiny little movie review of it.
Yeah.
Can I just make a few issues, right? What I noticed, and this was completely, I had no recollection of this whatsoever. In Beetlejuice, which is kind of people are dead and they live in the kind of afterlife, they're in kind of purgatory state. But when they step out of the purgatory state into what I would say is a kind of hell, they basically
I think, is it the planet Venus or something?
they step out of a perfectly good film into Dune. A terrible, terrible film. They step into a far worse movie. There's the desert. There's the sandworms. It's hell on earth. It's like Denis Villeneuve has come along and said, "You want hell? I'll give you hell." I had to sit through Dune again in little sections.
Everyone, because I loved Dune and Dune 2, everyone who complained about it, you just got a taste of what Dune 2 would have been like directed by someone other
This was
I'm
fantastic.
not saying his name because I'll mispronounce it.
A fantastic. This was. I much preferred Beetlejuice to Dune, but having them keep entering the world of Dune was it just brought back frightening, horrific memories of being in the cinema a month ago.
Star Wars, Critters,
Hell on Earth.
not Critters. What was the one with Kevin Bacon? Where they have the
Tremors
ones coming up.
A far superior film again to Dune Part 2.
Yeah.
Honestly, I tell you what, right? I did honestly prefer. They're not
Footloose better than
the reason
Citizen Kane.
The reason I'm going to say this is just because it really did throw Dune in my face. I did prefer this to Dune 2, Beetlejuice, right? I mean, they're not really comparable. So
You've only said it 100 times. I'm not sure they got the point.
It's an irrelevant comment, but my point is, what's the Dune thing going on there? Because when I thought, it's some sort of sand shark because it's got a shark's fin on its back. However, when Beetlejuice himself references it, reading the newspaper in the film, it's quite clearly called Sandworm. It's quite clearly, definitely, a kind of Lynch Dune thing going on.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, you got Frank Herbert, and Dune is one of the most popular sci-fi books ever written.
But why is it
probably
being
has something to do
portrayed
with
as hell?
Well, so I can't tell you if Tim Burton was just a fan of it and wanted to put an homage and thought, hey, let's be a cool idea if when they step out, it's like, what's a good idea of hell? What if it's like Dune and the sandworms?
Yeah.
And I
Do you
think
reckon-
they're
do you
supposed
reckon
to
he
be on
likes
planet.
it?
I think they're supposed to be on the planet Venus in Beetlejuice. I think that's how they refer to it. Because when they're in the dead office where they go after they die, I think someone says like he was spotted on Saturn or something. Or it was Saturn or Venus. It was another planet is what they refer to that sequence. It's almost like you're going to that planet.
Oh, okay.
Is what that is.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's okay. It's not.
It was really scary because it was so realistic looking.
What gets me is the climax of the film features that sandworm as a kind of get out of jail free card at the end.
Deus Ex Sandworm.
It just kind of comes around like that, and then just grabs Michael Keaton and just eats him.
Well,
and then
yeah, they did set it up. She did go and see the worm, so you knew that was going to be involved. Yeah.
Best scene of Beetlejuice, the original film, is that table scene where
course,
Beetlejuice,
yes.
I think, makes them do the dance. I couldn't remember that at all, but it was great.
That was to me, that was pretty much the highlight of the movie. Other than Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton is great.
That scene, I couldn't quite remember it, but when I was watching it, I was thinking, yes, something in here saying, you once liked this, Mercurial Number 6. You watched this once and you thought this is really good. Didn't do that with both hands. And Beetlejuice wanting to marry Winona Ryder. How old is Winona Ryder supposed to be in this film, Beetlejuice? She's a kid, isn't she?
I think she's supposed to be under 18 because she's living with her parents. They make it seem like she's a kid. So yeah, the 80s was a little uncomfortable sometimes.
One further point. There was a few funny things that Beetlejuice did right?
Yeah.
Where basically in this
The
in
joke is
2024,
sexual assault.
Sexual assault.
The
Sexual assault.
the whole I think Beetlejuice, I think 90% of his jokes are sexual. Like if you looked up the law, like what sexual assault is. And I'm not, getting upset about it, but I would wonder how it's going to translate into a film now. Where they're gonna have to. I don't think they'll change his sort of general attitude. But if 90% of the gag is he's a womanizer, like that. That pretty much is the gag about Beetlejuice. How are they gonna do that?
I'll tell you what. I didn't when I was thinking about how we were gonna what we were gonna say about this this very very short teaser trailer. In terms of how a good version of the sequel and a bad version or whatever, you're right. Now that I've seen the original again, he's like a dirty kind of funny.
He's like a dirty
ghosty,
uncle.
Pervert,
I think he's supposed to be a dirty uncle. Which at the time, even the dirty uncle, when we were kids in the 80s, the dirty uncle was like, your uncle, huh? And now it's very disturbing, because it's like, well, yeah, that's not necessarily funny.
So, what do you do then, right? So, I run the company, Warner Brothers or whatever, and I say to you, Bill, give me a sequel to Beetlejuice. What do you do with this character in 2024 that's not going to get us in trouble?
Here's a couple perspectives. One that I think it's already happened, because if you watch the first Ghostbusters, the best joke in Ghostbusters is he said, and Dickless over here, and the mayor goes, is that true? And Bill Murray goes, yes, this man has no dick. And it's supposed to be a kid's because they came up with a cartoon. And even in the second Ghostbusters, it's supposed to be a kid's movie. And I haven't watched the recent sequels, but from what I've seen, they're much more family friendly. But it came from a place, again, in the 1980s, where it's a bunch of comics joking around. So you're going to get some off-color humor. I think what Beetlejuice has going in its corner is Michael Keaton is a fantastic actor, and he actually started as a comedian, and he's very funny. Michael Keaton is really funny, and he's a fantastic actor. So I do believe if there's someone that they can sort of maybe step away from the womanizing jokes and things, and him still be funny and not feel, because the problem is you don't want to have the joke being sexual assault anymore, but there's also a part of you that doesn't want it to be completely Disneyfied and sort of takes all of the soul out of it. And I do believe that Michael Keaton can pull that off, where you're still laughing, you don't feel like it's been sort of sanitized and run through the dishwasher for you. He can just find a different angle. He can maybe even make a joke about, and this is probably cheesy, but in the current times I can't do that sort of thing anymore, you know what I mean? Like he can do, they can sort of reference it.
I'll tell you what, in terms of, just to interject, in terms of an element of this podcast where we guess what's going to happen, is there a chance that he says exactly what you just said? In a kind of breaking the fourth wall, in a nod and a wink to the camera, and says, yeah, can't be doing that today. Or,
either he or he does something and maybe the younger Wednesday character goes, we don't do that anymore.
Right. That's two options. He breaks the fourth wall himself, or he does something and a character says, you can't be Beetlejuice, you can't be doing that today.
Yeah.
Perhaps. Can I?
Or he gets canceled, like in the movie.
Oh,
like he does that, and someone comes and takes him away because he said something. You know how, like he said, if he doesn't marry her, or if he says the wrong thing and he had to go back to the office or whatever.
Yes.
Maybe that's one way they get him.
Yeah.
But again, it's like it's tough. It's like I can see it being funny, but it's like in our environment today, is that in bad taste, even joking about it. Like, and again, I'm not someone saying, "Oh, how dare they?" Yeah, even self-referential. And when it comes to the sort of things, like I don't know the answer to that nowadays. And I'm not someone when I'm going over this, I'm not like, "Oh my God," watching this or they're awful people. It was back then, right or wrong, it's just how it was done. And now things have changed, and I don't know what is considered acceptable now. Even like referencing that they used to be bad, I think would be fine. Or they might just want to pretend it never happened like they did with Ghostbusters and just like, oh, now we're suddenly just a family-friendly thing. Let me ask you this. Do you a lot of new trailers, because there's a lot of like let's remake old movies, and a thing that they do in a lot of them is they take the theme song. They did it with Ghostbusters. They played the Ghostbusters song, but very slow and somber. Do you think in this trailer playing "Come Mr. Tallyman" was, I took it as parody, that they were playing it slowly as a joke, like every trailer does this, and how funny would it be to take the banana song and play it? I didn't take it as like this is a meaningful moment because we're playing the "Come Mr. Tallyman" song really slow.
Wow, I took it as the opposite. You know,
You took it as serious?
kind of in the same way that over here, right, a few years ago, it started with the John Lewis adverts. I don't know if you've got equivalent in America. We've got at Christmas time, we've got a chain, a supermarket type. It's not a supermarket, quite a posh supermarket thing called John Lewis here, and they have their Christmas adverts. And it started years and years ago, but they take a famous song and they have a girl sing it really gently. It's probably a rock song or a pop song, but it's sung really slowly with an acoustic guitar maybe. And then it's transferred into films and TV. And then we've recently had a program called Traitors where they take popular songs, even if they're punk or whatever, and you have girls and choral choirs and stuff just singing it very gently and softly. And I hate it. It drives me up the wall. I do. If we ever made it, right, and we had an album and some people just bastardise our songs and made them all slow and had some girl sing them all gently, I would be furious until they gave me the paycheck.
And then it would be all right.
And then suddenly, do you know what? Ellie Goulding, take it away. Oh, Lily Allen was the best one. She sung a Keen song that I still... Somewhere only we go. Something like that. That's that very famous Keen song, which the Keen version, the original, whenever I hear it, I think it sounds like the smell of sour milk. But when Lily Allen sings it, it brightens me to the core of my soul. Anyway, right, so Beetlejuice, I got that they weren't parodying it. I was going to say Dead Parrot. It's got nothing to do with the Dead Parrot sketch.
They weren't parodying it.
I think they were genuinely trying to tug on nostalgic heartstrings. The problem being, even for me, when I glimpsed this trailer the first time, I couldn't remember that song from Beetlejuice.
Which is surprising, because I would say that was the thing people...
Yes.
I can see the marketing guy go, we got to get the song in.
Yes, and I agree. And the minute I watched Beetlejuice, I put it on yesterday, put it on last night. Having watched this, I must admit, this isn't the first. I watched this trailer yesterday. I thought, I put Beetlejuice on, and then I went, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. And every bit now of this trailer, which I didn't really get. You go up the staircase, you pull the cloth off the thing, Beetlejuice comes up. I just like, yes. If you remember Beetlejuice, this trailer tugs at heartstrings, and hence I think that music is trying to lure you in like a large fish, and it's putting a little bit of bait on it. Depends what bait you want. Do you want?
So I think.
What do you want? Give me the bait. Give me the bait. Give me the bait. Give me the bait.
I think it's a little of the. I think they want the best of both worlds. I think it's done as a play because every trailer now that's like a sequel to an older movie does the let's play it slow. I thought they'd think it'd be funny to play such an obvious song that's not made to be played slow and sentimental. But they can also do what you're saying. They can also.
I think I'm right and you're wrong. Okay, right.
I'm shocked.
Okay,
I'm shocked.
No,
shocked.
Let's give you the chance, right? If it's your way,
yeah.
What's funny about it?
It's not like haha funny. It's more. It's a satire. Yeah, it's not that kind of funny. It's this kind of funny. Watch, ready? That's the kind of funny.
Oh, they're the
You
sort
ever
of
see
funnies that happen where I edit some of your Just the Fact out. The ones where I go...
that's the ones where you go, The ones where you go, what the hell? What the bloody hell is a hamburger helper? That ruined my favorite. That was like one of my favorite ones. And you totally didn't know what I was talking about.
So, Michael Keaton, we need to talk about this guy. It's one of these kind of tour de force performances. He's just all fuss and bluster. I think he's probably overall better than the storyline itself. I don't think the storyline matches what he could have done in it, right? But I was watching this trailer film with Beetlejuice with somebody, and I said, bear in mind, right, this guy, hey, slap the ass, grab the woman, right? Yeah, woo, yeah, right. In a couple of years' time, right, Warner Brothers say, we're going to make a Batman film, a big
It was 1 year
superhero
after
film.
this. Batman
1
was
year after this.
1989.
1989. We're going to make a superhero film, right? Tim, we want you to direct it, right? Batman. We had Superman 10 years ago. This is a big deal. This could be the biggest film in the world. The choice for Batman is very important. I was sitting next. Choice of Batman is very important, right? Who do you have any ideas? Right? And at this point, he must have said, "Yeah, the guy who slapped that woman's ass, yeah, and tried to marry Winona Ryder, even though she's only 11. Let's have him as Batman." Right?
Well, he was also at the time
Tell
when they
me.
released the casting. It was pre-internet, and people freaked out because I
they
was.
did, I remember.
I'm a huge Batman fan, so I was so excited.
freaked out.
And then they said Michael Keaton, and then we all said Mr. Mom. They're gonna make Mr. Mom Batman because that was another movie he was in.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Mr. Mom. Yeah, Mr. Mom is actually a great film. He was in a lot of great films. There was one, I don't remember the name of it, where he went to Japan and they were going to help him how to make cars like more, more, what's the word? Not productive, but make more
bananas?
money. I don't know. Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. They were going to help productivity on like the thing. He was in a lot of movies. He was a great comedy actor. And I think Tim Burton said, this guy will do anything I ask him to and do it well and take it seriously. And so we all said, Mr. Mom's going to be Batman. And then we saw the first poster with him in the suit, and everyone instantly went, okay, we're in. Let's do it. And now he's beloved for it.
I remember in this country that it took a bit more than the first poster. I do remember that time. And people were constantly going on about it. I think he even had to do interviews pre-film release. Trying to, and it's one of those things, isn't it, where the film came out and everyone pretty much universally just went, "Oh, okay, we made a huge mistake. We all shot our mouths off about how he was a terrible choice." Do you remember at the time it was all about he didn't have the chin? I really remember Michael Keaton can't play Batman because he hasn't got the chin. All you see is that, right? Michael Keaton hasn't got the chin. And Michael Keaton must have just gone chinny rack on. You wouldn't get that.
I don't
chinny
know what that
rack
means.
on. No.
Is
so
this
my
a
point-
British thing?
It's a British thing. Oh, Jimmy Hill. So
Park Life.
this was like ooh.
That whole, I love Blur. That whole song just goes over my head. He's like, "You gotta get the bloody blinker, and the blinkers are blinking on your birdies. Park Life." And I'm like, yeah, I guess that's a problem. I don't understand.
Hey, look at that gut lord marching, mate. You want to cut down on your port life? Get some exercise.
And I'm just like, here's me, listen to that song. I'm like,
Beetlejuice, in a way, then was kind of an audition for Michael Keaton to unknowingly maybe get the Batman role. What is it, do you think, that the executives looked at Beetlejuice and went, "Yeah, we'll give you a run. We'll give you a go at this guy as Batman."
because I don't know the timing.
How
because
the
I think
hell?
he made. And I don't know the timing of this exactly, but because he made Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands and Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and all of them are hits, and he wants to do Batman, and he says, if you're going to let me do Batman, let me get my guys. And then they said, well, I tell you what, we need a bigger star. He goes, how about I get Jack Nicholson in as the Joker? And then I'm burping in my chest somehow. And then the studio goes, I'm just
You
talking.
carry on. You
and
carry on talking.
my-
I'll do a
and my chest is gurgling as I'm talking because I'm drinking coffee. And so I think that's how it went down. But I mean, you have to admit he was he was fantastic in both.
Yeah,
he's a great. He's one of my favorite actors, Michael Keaton.
he is just great. So Tim Burton, like you said, that run of films where he had.
Let me ask
power,
you this:
right?
does Tim Burton still have it?
No.
Like, what's the last Tim Burton movie?
Edward.
Yeah.
I didn't even like Mars Attacks. Okay, I'll stop talking over you.
Oh,
Right?
I loved it. I love
finish
Mars Attacks.
You finish the sentence, and then I'll stop talking.
I love Mars Attacks. I love early films. The last film I saw where I went, oh, was he did Alice in Wonderland, and I went to the theater to see it, and it
They
was
filmed
just
it was just 2 miles that way. They filmed.
oh wow.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
I've
given. No, I can't say that.
More
I can't give my location away. No, sorry, 200 miles that way. They filmed it.
more like Alice in Blunderland with that comment.
Yeah.
I just felt like, oh, this is just a typical move, and it kind of feels like now you know the things he does, and it's like a guy who has 3 really good jokes, and you hang out with him twice. You're like, he's the funniest guy I've ever met, and then you realize it's just the same jokes over and over.
I would go further than that. I think I would say he's completely and utterly lost it. He's just lost it. I don't want to watch any more. That Charlie
Has
and the
he
Chocolate
lost it,
Factory
or is he
film.
just doing what he did again?
It's awful. I don't know. No. Oh my god. Compare Charlie and the Chocolate Factory to Beetlejuice.
Oh, I hated. Yeah, I hated
You've
that.
got.
Well, my kid loves Nightmare Before Christmas. That was good. I don't know when that was made.
But he didn't have a lot to do with that, did he? Because like it's called Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, but when you read into it, he didn't have that. He didn't have a lot to do with it. Was he like
No.
a executive producer or something?
I didn't look at the trailer. I guess is Danny Elfman coming back for this one? To score
I'll tell you
it?
what.
Oh
we'll-
wait,
we'll-
is
we'll
he in
look-
trouble?
we'll look for
Danny
it.
Elfman might be in trouble.
Oh no,
I
what's he
think
done?
I
He
read
hasn't-
something where. Well, I think it's something like that. I think
Oh,
he
God.
did do some women stuff.
Oh no.
In fact, could you Google that for me, or just type Danny Elfman scandal and
Oh,
see what comes
no.
up? Because I think he might be
Oh no.
out. I think.
Danny Elfman, 70 years old. Oscar nominated. Oh, it makes me sign in. Hang on. Oh, really? You're really going to do that? I'm not signing in. Oscar nominated composer Danny Elfman accused of sexual assault by second ... I think we are both big fans of Tim Burton's early work and
yeah.
his good work.
Yeah.
Now that I've watched Beetlejuice, now you've rewatched Beetlejuice, is this a highlight?
Yeah.
It felt like a highlight to me. I always thought that when I was growing up, I felt like Edward Scissorhands was his best work, and then I watched Ed Wood, which I thought is probably up there as well. And I couldn't really remember Beetlejuice, but now having just watched it, it feels like bits of it are really good.
My wife mentioned that she liked that it was a small film. In other words, there's about 10 to 12 characters that show up throughout the entire film. There's no stakes for the world. There's no like huge thing. And actually there's more characters because they go and they see the dead and everything. But it felt like it felt like they could make that into a play. And it would be really enjoyable to go see as a play. Complete with the props and everything. And obviously some of the effects didn't age well. So, the effects are going to be better now. My question to you is, we've talked about the sort of sexual assault humor that they're going to have to change. But do you think a film like that's a small film, that's really a comedy, that's just a kind of goofy film with some like off, humor, can that work? I mean, we have like Wes Anderson making films that are sort of his one-of-a-kind eccentric humor kind of things, which I enjoy. I haven't watched the last few, but I always laugh at. Like I always love Life Aquatic and a few, the Royal Tenenbaums and stuff. So there are some films out there that are, I'd call quirky, because I would say the original Beetlejuice was quirky. And I think what propelled it is that scene where they all sing "Come Mr. Tallyman." I think that and Michael Keaton's performance is what propelled it into outer space. I think people would have been, and I think if they got a lesser actor to play Beetlejuice, it would have been more easily forgotten. But I think in the 1988, everyone said, "Did you see that scene where they're singing?" And that got everyone to go see it.
I agree.
So if they don't have that scene in the new one, and maybe they do, maybe they have something to top it, I think they're going to have to try. And then it might be bad if it's another song or they try to reenact it. Our people, and here's the thing, I don't know. I'll say overall, I'm excited for it. A lot of these, I didn't watch Ghostbusters. I didn't watch the Shining remake. I didn't watch the Total Recall remake. I didn't watch the RoboCop. I always say, like, when a sequel comes out, I'll ask my buddy who watches all these films and listens to this podcast. We're very thankful. I'll say, is it better than the original? And if he says no, I don't bother. I'll say this one
That's
more
gonna
than
rarely
almost
happen, isn't it? Though.
Well, yeah, but I'll say this one more than any other. I guess it's not as much as like it has to be better. there has to be a point. I did watch the sequel to Train Spotting and I enjoyed it because I felt like they wrote it for a reason that wasn't, hey, let's try to make some money. I didn't think it was better than the first one.
There's a sequel to Trainspotting.
Yeah, there is.
I watched Trainspotting in the cinema when I was, in the 90s or whatever.
That's
I
a
didn't even
fantastic movie.
The scene with
Ewan McGregor's first big
Big
film.
just throws that glass back and it pauses in the air and then describes who he is. And then when they've finished describing who he is, the glass still falls. And then
It falls down and hits a guy in the head.
Yes, Beetlejuice. I'll tell you what you just said about Beetlejuice is interesting, right? Because for me, quite a weak. The premise is good, right? The premise is good. The couple die,
Yeah.
and they don't realize they're dead, kind of thing. And then, but the ghosts are stuck in the house until they enter a horrible Dune Part 2 world, and they're stuck in the house. And then the family comes and they don't like them, so they need to exorcise the living. All a good premise. I thought the actual plot itself was quite weak, right? So what you're left with is like a series of set pieces.
Yes, and if you think about most comedies, like how many comedies where you're like, I was riveted by the plot. I mean, I love Anchorman, and I'm not like, what's gonna happen? You want to laugh, and so I think,
some. I think overall you've got a point. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think if I look at like Some Like It Hot or Groundhog Day or something, I can see that they're much more rooted in an actual plot.
that's
But
true.
I suppose my point is, if I've had to talk about Beetlejuice, I'm talking about the set piece bits. So the table scene singing the song, and his kind of arrival is just complete fuss and bluster, and the actors, I suppose, because like we haven't really talked about it, but like Gina Davis is and the head teacher out of Ferris Bueller's Day Off is in it. He's great. He's really great, and. Winona Ryder, I suppose. I've always liked her.
The gag that the way Beetlejuice had the one guy, not Ferris Bueller, the fashion designer guy, where the joke was like he scared everybody else with like snakes, and with him he scared him by giving him a terrible outfit. I thought that was a really funny joke.
It was good.
That was
It was
clever.
good.
Yeah.
So I suppose my thing is then, right, there was other elements of Beetlejuice that were a bit, like you said yourself, that I thought the effects were...
It's funny because I think in 1988
okay.
you're laughing because it's like funny, but as me and my wife watched it, we're laughing, going, "Oh, did they just do what I think they just did?" Like,
There was like elements of it was of its time. There was elements of quaintness. Some of the practical effects.
Well, some of the props,
I
it
quite
felt like
liked.
they went to a Halloween shop and just took whatever they bought, and we're like,
felt
we're
like,
using
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it
you
felt,
would be in the shop. They'd paint your face white
Yeah.
and like take your nose off or something, and you'd just be in the shop, like, or the reception area.
It felt like that, and if you've got an element of having lived through the 80s and seen Beetlejuice at the time, and there's an element of nostalgia to it, which it was for me, the practical effects, the stop motion Stan Winston type stuff. You look at it and you go, yeah, I really liked it. I was like,
Yeah.
this is compare that something.
Did you
like
notice
that.
when they're going to the never-ending hallway and it's like just a wall, and they cut right before they get to the wall every time the never-ending
beautiful.
hallway comes up? Yeah.
It's beautiful. I was probably drunk at that point, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful. But it's beautiful. But my point is, right, we're talking about a 2024 audience, right, who probably not going to accept that the animation on a snake and all these different bits, and even the Dune stuff, to be fair. They're not going to accept that. If you cut all of that out of Beetlejuice, you're not left with very much. You're left with about 7 minutes that would stand up today with an audience that's not got nostalgia. So what is a film of, it's 2024, so it's going to be like 3.5 hours long.
One thing they've got going for it is I don't know her name, the actress that plays Wednesday. I can tell you, having a 6-year-old son, I don't know about this year, but at least last year,
Jennifer Ortega.
yeah, and I can tell you at least last year, she is the bee's knees if you're in elementary school.
She did a dance, didn't she?
I think she was in the Addams Family, Wednesday. And then I already mentioned that, obviously. But my son can't even watch that because it's too scary. But just him and everyone in his class, I think 11 from Stranger Things was that in years past, and now she's sort of older. And I think she's the new, like, it girl for elementary kids. So I think they want to go, so that means they'll probably make the humor a little less, And But I think her drawing them, I think she'll draw in the audience, at least the younger audience, a little bit. As far as I wonder if they'll make the effects, because obviously they can make them look semi seamless now. I wonder if they'll purposely sort of make it a little janky,
They've got to,
as
haven't
sort
they?
of a fun. Yeah, I think so. I think why I say I'll believe in this is Michael Keaton. I just think Michael Keaton is fantastic, and I think I saw he seems really excited about it, and I know in press junkets they're not going to be like, yeah, this didn't work out. But he seemed genuinely like, no, this is going to be really good.
Do they need to give him more to do?
Yes.
You know, when a sequel, I think Ghostbusters 2 did it as well. I think you know when a sequel just redoes the first film, like
That'll be disappointing. And I think we always do this when we do our before we watch. I think the worst version of this movie is let's recreate the first one. Let's have the focus on her because she's an it girl. We'll do all the same jokes. We'll come up with a new song routine, similar to the first one.
And she is known for dancing, Bill, because the only bit I have seen of her in the Addams Family thing is she came up with her own dance, apparently live on the set.
Oh yeah, all the kids do that. Yeah,
and then
I
all the
forgot
kids have
about
done it on
that.
TikTok. So they're in danger of doing that in this film. I think Winona Ryder's daughter, goes up this staircase and lifts off this sheet.
Yeah.
Right? So she's the one who then discovers Beetlejuice.
Yep.
And then
when there's Winona Ryder.
Winona Ryder runs in going, no, don't let that guy out again. He's going to sexually assault you.
Yeah, so
he tried to marry me. He's 1,000 years old.
So Beetlejuice convinced Wednesday Addams to say his name 3 times. Winona Ryder goes, "What have you done?" and runs up, and here we are. Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin aren't there. So I say it's a contentious relationship between Winona Ryder and her mom, and then Wednesday Addams feels caught up in the middle of that. And then Beetlejuice uses that to get her to release him once again.
I thought there was a second teaser. Hang on.
Life
We've got narration.
is a funny thing,
Life is a
because
funny
no matter how hard you try,
right?
it always comes to an end.
Mom,
Wow, that's quite dark.
what is this? Don't go through that door. And under no circumstances say his name.
I've been waiting for this for decades.
Beetlejuice. It doesn't matter what he promises you. Never trust him.
Lydia.
The juice is loose.
The wedding dress.
I found my way out of this afterlife.
It's time.
And how? Well, you're not gonna like it. Come here and follow me on this journey.
It doesn't look funny.
So yeah, so
That's proper dark, isn't it? Holy, hang on.
so
right.
that does.
I know we need to talk
well,
about
I will say at least I looked right that he not seduces, but he gets Wednesday Addams to let him out. But yeah, that looked like they were going for a straight up horror vibe, which could be interesting.
That I much prefer that answered a few questions I had. I got to say that was actually a bit of a surprise. I thought it was going to go for the tone of the original. I think I'm more right than you. Now that we've just seen the second trailer, when I said I think it's going for a real ominous tone with taking the original song and making it dark and moody and atmospheric. Now that I've just watched that, that looked to me like dark as hell. Didn't it?
But it's so ridiculous. It's like, how can they go? Oh, but I think they could work if they go for
the original was darker than. I'm not even certain it was a comedy. Had funny bits in it.
I took the original as a comedy. I did not. There was not one moment where I was like, "Whoa!" in the first movie.
There was one bit where in the original where to try and like scare them, she'd hanged herself in the cupboard.
Yeah.
And then they went into another room and she'd cut her husband's head off.
Yeah.
And I thought, whoa! I'm not even sure you'd do that today in a like.
But
comedy.
it was like, yes, it was gory, but I also took it was a joke. It's like, what are they gonna do to make? And then it was funny because they were like, they didn't see him at all.
Yeah,
So even that was
no, I
sort of
agree.
played for laughs.
That was not that.
I
that
think,
was a different
but
film.
I will
that
say
was.
this: like we talked about, the worst case scenario is them just redoing the first film. If they literally make this in another genre, that could be interesting.
Yeah. No, right, okay, right. I'm actually quite interested in that film now. We just ended by saying, is it the sort of film you'd pay money to go and see? And I was like, nah. But do you know what? I'd rather watch that than Dune Part 2. Mm-hmm. Let's wrap this up with a final. Now we've seen the second trailer, best and worst case. I think the best case of this film would be what you just said.
Before we were talking about Alec Baldwin, who was in the first film. And, of course, I'm going to butcher it. I'm going to paraphrase an anecdote that Norm told. When Alec Baldwin was in his prime, he came to Saturday Night Live, and he was like the most eligible bachelor ever. He's married to Kim Basinger, who, if you're young and you don't know, that she was a very attractive actress who was in the first Batman. And so I guess there was a secretary, and Alec Baldwin wanted to be one of the guys. So I'll edit what he said because he said it a little more dirty. But he said, I would crawl on my hands and knees over a mile of broken glass just to have sex with her. And Norm goes, you could probably just ask.
Yes! Yeah, the best version of this film would probably be if they took the idea of it and said, we're going to do another Beetlejuice film and make it really dark and make it really scary. Why not?
Yeah,
That'd
I would
be
agree.
funny. That'd be really funny
if they
did
just
that.
made it like a terrifyingly and a good film, I think that would be really smart, and I think it would. Now, all the kids from elementary school going to see Wednesday Addams might get a little bit. My kid won't sleep, for a week because of the first Beetlejuice. But
worst case, a beat by beat remake of the first film, featuring a daughter, mother.
Oh yeah,
similar.
And then they have name me a terrible. No, not Taylor Swift does a version of the Day-O song, but it's got like a club beat, and then it's like day. It starts out daylight, and then it's like.
It'll be Katy Perry.
Yeah, Taylor Swift or one of the someone like Billie Eilish is singing
Billie Eilish
a fast pace Billie Eilish
Day-O.
with yeah, but it's got like a different like beat, and it's kind of done backwards, and so yeah. And then in the middle it goes bow bow bow.
Yeah, I think on that note, until next time, over and I can insert my own beep sound, which I'm going to use for this episode. It's going to go like this.